What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Al, the owner of the Underdog Dynasty Kennel, the founder of the Behind the Breeding podcast. And today I have a very, very special guest. Today's guest has been breeding for a long time. He has achieved the pinnacle of heights the American Bully breed has to offer by having his production win the prestigious title of Best of Breed and Best in Show at the ABKC Nationals show. This dog has not only stood the test of time as a show dog, but has also been a part of arguably the greatest moment in ABKC Nationals history. When it comes to having a dog become world known and competing worldwide, this camp has achieved heights many of us wish to tap into. Not only has this dog been known for his show career, but he is now getting the respect he deserves as one of the best producers to ever grace the American Bully breed. This breeder has produced some amazing dogs and has solidified his breeding program as one of the elite tier programs in the game. He has played his role in showcasing this breed in a positive light. He's a great man, father, and husband. Today, I'm humbled and blessed by the Most High to have our guest come in to talk about that breeding that produced international winner, national winner, grand champion Blue. Everyone, welcome David Martinez, the owner of Martinez Bullz. So what's going on, brother, man? How you doing?
What's good with you, bro? Good morning, man. I appreciate you having us on here. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you giving us a platform, man. This is big.
Man, I'm just so grateful, bro, to be able to have you on here to talk about the breeding that produced Blue. You know, I echo the sentiments that I said before, man. Blue is one of the greatest dogs to ever grace the breed, man. And as you can tell with all the accolades in the background, man, it doesn't get much better. To be at the level you have gotten to, man, I just can express how amazing that must have felt to be in that position, man. So let's talk about it, man. What made you choose the American Bully breed as the dog you wanted to breed?
Man, so I guess kind of similar to a lot of other people growing up. Grew up around pits, man, and that was just something that was, it was almost like a family staple for us. One, a family protector, guardian, and two, just you grow to love these dogs, man. They're real loyal to you. They want to please. So I grew really fond of the American Pit Bull Terrier, and once I got out of college and moved in with my wife, started our own family and stuff out of town, I really didn't know nobody out here, so I kind of went back to something that felt comfortable, that I knew was the dogs. And what I looked into was what shows are out here. I want to get something that's grand champion bloodline, that's it got to carry a little bit of prestige to it. So when we moved out to the Bay Area, I actually went to shows for about 2 years without a dog, just to kind of see what was the scene, right now. And the American Bully is what was on and popping, and that's what really caught my eye. It's a new spin on the pit bull, I feel like, and I really grew to love the breed. There's different varieties of it: the pocket, your standard, your XLs. And I know the extreme class is out, but you can definitely see some similarities in today's dogs with what they were trying to push back then. And that was something that I fell in love with: the look, the head, the structure. And on a well showed dog, it's the movement. The movement sells. So that's something that brought me back into the American Bully dog, and I just had to have one.
Yeah, I know that's right, man. So you getting in, right? What bloodlines did you come to know became your personal favorites when you got back in, right? And ranked them based on your personal preferences. So basically for me, I love Gotti as that the Gotti blood for me, that's the type of look that I desire. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What are your favorite bloodlines?
So again, just going back to the early days, man, of the pits and the transitions, was a lot of it was Gotti, Razor's Edge, that you kept hearing. Once I really started studying the American Bully, Dax came in, which is a Gotti line dog. So to me, I just kind of favored that side. The headpiece on the Gotti dogs is what really, it's a really strong attribute of the breed, and the headpiece to me is just solidifies it. And it's the first impression you get from the dog. You go from the face back, and you study the dog like that, at least how you look at it and it's presented to you. You run into these dogs that got just really really nice head structures on them, and that's what drew me to the Gotti bloodline, I would say. And I kind of just fell down that rabbit hole with the Dax as well. Just kind of followed that and what it took to produce that. So I would say the Gotti line and Dax line is what I looked into, and then even then, just on the newer side, what Khan was doing with the Foking Bullies, Rocco at the time, was just starting up, and he's, man, just there's a few pictures of him that just draw your eye, and I absolutely love that dog. So that was I feel like what got me into looking at the breeds a little bit more.
Absolutely, man. And focus style bullies, we understand the greatness of what they've been able to achieve. And Rockomania, understanding that he came off, I believe it was Phenom, one of the more iconic dogs. You get what I'm saying? And man, that's awesome. So who were the foundational dogs of your breeding program, right? And what were the deciding factors in purchasing those dogs from the breedings you decided to get them from?
So I actually was looking, like I said, at the Gotti lines and the Daxes and all that. There was a local breeder that I started on IG, just kind of following his content, and he did a really good job of posting a lot of stuff, when no one was really doing it at the time. He was kind of one of the first ones to do it, and he's a smaller camp too. JC 209 Bullies out of Modesto. Shout out my boy Giovanni. I just followed what he had. He had a dog named Nino, and man, just a beautiful dog. He reminded me a lot of what my brother had growing up, and I just really loved his structure, his size. He wasn't overly done, but you can tell the dog was just massive. He looked like he was working out in the gym, and it's just something that was beautiful to me. It's not your classic terrier type looking dog, which, like, again, that's what I grew up with, but this dog really commanded attention. And I followed up with them and checked in with them, and just kind of picked his ear a little bit, seeing what kind of breedings he was doing, what bloodlines he was messing with. I picked up a dog from him that actually was totally against what me and my wife had discussed. She wanted a blue female, and I ended up coming back with a piebald male, total different spectrum from what we had agreed on. But long story short, he didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. Beautiful dog, but he got, a little bit taller than what I wanted, a little longer in the body. The headpiece was there, the structure as far as, he was there, but it's just not my preference at the time, not the direction I wanted to start off in. So I linked back up with them on the next breeding. He had purchased a Dax daughter and bred her to Nino. And that to me just hit. I pulled up on them to see the pups when they're born, and then pulled back up, when they were of age, and made my pick on a female out of that breeding. Nice. And that is Blue's mom. That is Sage. Sage carried the attributes that I like. She had a beautiful headpiece for a female. Her muscle structure was out of this world. She did have some flaws that I obviously knew I needed to work with to get to the point I needed to. So kind of that was my base and foundation right there. That was some old blood on Nino's side. What was it? It was Fort's Castle, which is essentially, let me pull it up here, man. Or Shark City, I'm sorry. Shark City Bullies out of San Jose, a local Bay Area here, Kennel. And the guy is actually online a lot. A lot of people don't mess with him too much, Ben Gallegos, but he's got a lot of broad knowledge on the breed, man. He was there at the early beginnings of the dogs,
Yeah.
And he built a solid program that essentially helped create some beautiful dogs.
That's awesome. So my next question is, right, for you personally, how important is the pedigree to you?
It plays a huge role, honestly, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it until I started the showing, until I physically was able to see a lot of these dogs that I was seeing online, seeing what was behind them. It does play a big role, but I personally don't put, I would say I'm like 75-25 on the pedigree side. And I don't put too much emphasis on it. I look at the dog in front of me to start with. That's the foundation that I'm looking at right there. And then I kind of start seeing, you know, if the dogs had any productions, I look at that and see what bloodline that dog was bred to produce that litter or dog there. And from there, I kind of go back, you know, generation after, you know, second and third generation from both bloodlines to see kind of what attributes and all that play into what I'm looking at in front of me.
Gotcha. So when
Mm-hmm.
you came into the community at that time, who were the top dogs, and did they influence the way you thought about breeding at, or not at all?
So I believe when I started going to the shows, 2013 was the end, you know, of the bully markets. Man, I'm having a brain fart right here.
That
Bistro,
bistro?
yeah,
Bistro.
Bistro was, you know, it was at the end of Bistro's career. It was the beginning of the bus. You know, he was real young at the time, but he was just getting into the show ring. Um, Mufasa was a dog that was real heavy, and I shout out Val. He was pushing that dog all over the country. You know, that was a big, massive dog at the time, and that's what people wanted. You know, he had that wow factor to him, something different than what you had seen in the bistro movement with the pocket. You know, and Mufasa was a big, big. I think it's still up in the air as far as was he a standard, was he an XL? But the dog commanded, you know, commanded your attention. He had a presence to him, and obviously, you know, handled them and showed them well. So it was at that time was, like I said, the end of Bistro, the beginning of Bus. Mufasa was getting pushed heavy. Um, who else was in there, man? Hove at the time was still young, and he only had a short career, man. Shout out Xavier. But Hove was a dog that I really liked and was pushing the envelope at the time. Tommy had man, who was it? It was a World Star son, Tiny, and Shots Fired. We're still young, but Tiny and Hove were pushing for that top dog at the time after Mufasa. So those were some of the dogs that I saw coming in that I kind of try to see what they were doing and how to move within the game, you know.
Yeah. So, did you have a mentor at any point in your journey, or was there a breeding program that you followed that provided some inspiration to you, and how you decided to pick your studs? How did that turn out for you?
I wouldn't per se say a mentor. I just kind of, like I said, just being a newbie, not having the breeder background that a lot of the old school, you know, OGs had. I kind of just soaked up game, you know, just online, looked at a lot of video, looked at a lot of YouTube, a lot of pictures and stuff, just kind of soaked up game from, you know, what do I like? What is the, you know, what is the preference as far as the ABKC's preference and pickings? You know, I'm a real big competitor. I want to win at anything I do, you know. So
Yeah.
I was kind of studying what's you know what's winning right now, what's the preference, what's the liking, you know. So I would say I kind of soaked up and picked up game from a lot of different camps. Again, Giovanni at JC 209, who I picked up Blue's mom from. He had a beautiful dog, and I actually had to tell him, man, like he wasn't into the shows. I had to tell him, bro, get him out there. He'll do some good work. And luckily he heeded the advice and got him out there and produced, you know, not to produce, but he got Nino up to champion status. Firmly believe if he would have kept pushing him, he would have grand champed. And if he would have promoted him heavier, I think he could have done some stuff across the states and made a bigger name for himself. But he's, you know, busy man, you know, didn't really want to do the show scene, didn't want to be in front of the camera and all that, which I get, you know. It's hard for me, as we spoke prior to this, you know, it's hard for me to sit down and do interviews and stuff and be in front of, because I'm kind of behind the scenes, man. I rather let the work do the talking, you know.
Yeah, bro. You know, I would say this, man. I'm just so grateful and humbled that you decided to come on and speak on this podcast, right? Because, like I said before, this is a newer podcast. The goal of this is obviously there's a bigger mission statement in play when it comes to pushing the American bully breed forward. This was something that I felt God led me towards. I felt like this was where it needed to go. And then to be honest with you, brother, man, this idea has been, I want to say, like 2 years in the making. So when I tell you that I'm just so grateful that other breeders have came on, especially breeders that have produced some really, really dope dogs. I'm just so blessed, man, to have you on here. And like I said, I wanted to make sure you were comfortable. And the way we do it, I think this is better for, instead of being on live, because obviously there's a lot more pressure that comes with being on live and having
Yeah.
a live audience to be able to execute this live. It's a little bit different, and I think it's a little bit better this way, you know. So what is your ideology on how you construct breedings?
So you hear it from a lot of the OGs, man, and it's just the breed itself is a head heavy breed. You know, like I said, that's what draws your attention to the dog to begin with. But you got to start with a solid foundation, and I feel like the rear is a must. You know, and it's still a problem within the breed. It's still trying to, you know, we're still trying to figure out what is the right building blocks, you know, to consistently produce a solid rear. A lot of it is money and greed, man. A lot of people see it and try and get in and do a lot without studying like that. And you can see the detriments it's caused within the breed, you know, and we should be at a higher level, but a lot of ego, a lot of pride, you know, is pushing that stuff to the side. It's unfortunate, but I feel like you need a solid foundation and start from the rear and work your way up on the dog. To me, the rear assembly is the number one starting spot, and that's something that I look at in doing any breedings, is just seeing, okay, what does the line consist of? What is it constantly produced? What is it constantly putting out there, you know, off of its offspring? So to me, the rear and work your way forward, and just studying the past, you know, to get to where try to get to where you need to be.
Absolutely. You know, piggybacking off that, right? The rear, like you said, it's a real issue in the community, because when we start talking about stiff stifles, right?
Yeah.
Now we're getting into a weaker rear, right? And now you got to determine the hip set. And obviously, listen, there's hip dysplasia in every dog breed, right? Depending on how they're bred, but it's a little bit more predominant in the American Bully breed. Obviously, if you get smaller on the dogs and you're really pushing some of these limits, you know, you're really trying to defy genetics, right? Putting as much muscle mass as you can on these dogs. And the thing is, right, and this is why I go back to it, asking the questions about the pedigree. When you look at the dogs, right, you got the mother and the father, right? And then you go into the grandparents and the great-grandparents and the great-great-grandparents. And a lot of people, when I try to break it down to them, I'm like, yes, these dogs are iconic, but basically what it is you have these traits. And when you start looking at these traits, how you breed, yes, you get the good, but if and let's say you have a couple of dogs with a weak rear in there, that could also come back out right in front of you. So the way you decide to pair up these dogs is very important, because like for me personally, I'm trying to improve on the hip set and add more to that headpiece to really get that look that I'm trying to fortify. Because for me personally, I like dogs that like to work. You know, I love a dog that has drive. I love a dog that is able to push off, have that strong movement in the rear. What made you choose Chaos as the stud you wanted to use for Sage?
Just looking at what Sage brought to the table. Like I said, she had a really beautiful headpiece on her, which I love. Pronounced, you know, cheeks. To me, like I said, the head is the number one thing I look at. She had a real beautiful headpiece on her for a female. Had a lot of muscle mass on top of her. She had a lean frame, I would say, but just the muscle mass that she packed on her was incredible.
Yeah.
She was a little bit longer in the back, in the length, slightly taller than what I would like, but with the dogs behind her, I knew what she would be able to produce. So just looking at some of her pros and some of her cons, I kind of weighed it out, and I looked at dogs that could benefit her and bring some of those things that I was lacking into the foreseeable litter, you know. And Chaos, to me, just attending those shows, like I said, without a dog, I went to these shows just to be a spectator and see what was winning. I saw this dog Chaos and I fell in love, man. I saw him one time in Bakersfield at a show down there when I was showing the first dog I had. And I absolutely fell in love with the dog. And I said, man, as soon as I get a female and she's of age, I'm gonna try and work something out and do something with Mike on the breeding. And man, we were lucky enough. The circumstances behind it, we'll get into that, a little later on how it all went down. But I was lucky enough to get a unit and shoot our shot, per se.
Yeah.
And we were blessed with the litter we had. So I would say Chaos to me just brought a lot to the table as far as the attributes was he had the short back, he was on a shorter pocket frame. He wasn't pushing the envelope as far as, closer to the standard, because I believe he was 15 and a half, pushing 16, but he was just really well proportionate and put together. He was a small dog, but he gave off big dog vibes,
Yeah.
Had a nice, beautiful, solid rear on him. The headpiece is, like I said, the ultimate for me, and he brought all that to the table. And so I just saw what he brought and what Sage brought, and I kind of looked at it and said, man, what can we do? I can kind of see what they might be able to do, but that's where the pedigree came back into mind.
Yeah.
What was behind Sage. Chaos is a Miyagi dog. I'll tell you right now, I'm not, to this day, I'm not a fan of Miyagi, but I'll tell you what, that dog produced some dogs that you were like, wow, like they were some wow factor dogs that brought a lot to the community and produced some beautiful dogs, and that's why I always say the pedigree is, I'm 75-25 on it. I look at what's in front of me, and that was one of the ones where I was kind of fugazi, like he came off of what, okay, like okay, I get you, so the pedigree does play a huge role. I don't per se put a lot of emphasis on it, but that was one of the ones that, like, hey, you do got to study pedigree, because sometimes it'll come back and give you something that you weren't even expecting.
Absolutely. When you said that you went to go to the shows and you saw Chaos, I try to explain to people that what you want to do is you want to be able to put hands on these dogs, see these dogs, because we have a thing, right? When, let's say, for example, we get content of the dogs, sometimes the pictures and videos might not accurately depict what's in front of you when you see it in person. And when you went and you saw Chaos and you saw the greatness, you saw it, and you're like, yeah, let's go, let's get to work. And obviously we know how it turned out. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So what were your expectations for that breeding, knowing what was up front with these dogs? Like, did it exceed your expectations, or did you think like, hey, you know what, we'll get some really, really dope dogs? How did that work out for you?
So I thought, just by looking at the two dogs in front, Sage and Chaos, I thought we were gonna get, something close to what the end result that I was looking for. But again, I kind of did the math on it and just kind of looked at pedigree and stuff, and I knew we might not, we might get some oddballs in there that aren't too up to par. But again, I just looked at the dogs in front of me and kind of looked at the second and third generations, and I'm a big believer that that's where they pull a lot of their traits from, is second and third generation dogs, not specifically what's in front of you, but the second and third generation behind both those dogs is dogs that I liked. And I was like, you know what, let's take the gamble, let's do it. And I was doing the breeding just to see what Sage can produce with that caliber dog. And I wasn't gonna keep anything, that wasn't the plan. The plan was, let me see what she produces, kind of get my foot in the door as far as the breeding thing goes, test the market, and see if they're worthy. And man, without having seen another litter mate, when they opened her up, Blue was the first one to be pulled, and he was already in the canal to be, she was already starting to push. Dude straight told me, hey, if she would have pushed him out, he would have blocked everything, probably killed the litter, done damage to mom if you didn't get her in soon enough. So just seeing him when they pulled him out, bro, I was in awe. I knew he was staying. And just looking at him there, I said it exceeded my expectations.
That's awesome. So realistically, right, for you, what was the ceiling for that breeding in your eyes? Like, do you obviously you spoke about this, that it exceeded your expectations.
Mhm.
How dope did you think at face value those pups would have been? And you know, at what point in their development for you did you say, okay, yeah, I think we got something here?
I would honestly say probably, man, and like I said, without being a breeder and having the previous experience, but I would say just looking at the dogs and you know, at a young age, I would probably say 4 weeks. I knew kind of, all right, they started standing, walking around. I can kind of see the shape on the head. I know that a lot changes, you know, in very little time, very short time frame. But what I was looking at in the whelping box, I can tell. I said, all right, we got a few in here that got some solid potential.
Yeah,
Um, and I ended up placing some of them in homes that didn't show, and I think I made the right decisions on those because those were the ones that I felt didn't bring what I was looking for out of the breeding. They were a little more. They pulled a lot more on Sage's side, Sage's great grandma's side. They were a little more terrier looking. Um, and didn't bring the attributes that the ABKC, you know, called for on the American Bully.
yeah,
So I pulled 3 of them and put those in pet homes. Sent out 4 that were good potential show prospects. But I would say around 4 weeks when they start, you know, kind of getting their own character and their own attitude, you know, that's when I kind of knew, okay, we might be able to do something with these and place these in homes where, you know, where they'll do something.
what traits did Blue show as a pup, like, that made you say, okay, he's sticking out from his litter mates? Don't piece bone. All right, confirmation. Okay, this is the dog. What traits were those for you that instantly popped out? Going back to what you know now.
To me, it would be probably the bone mass on him. He was just different. He was built.
Yeah,
He has a brother named Milo who's actually local here in Pittsburgh. Um, and that dog and him were the 2 biggest males in the litter. Milo was always the biggest dog out of the litter, but Blue was just really proportionate for me, and he had
yeah,
that proportion that I liked on a dog, especially when you say bulls. You know, to me, I think of, it's gonna sound hella funny, but I got kids, man, and I think of Ferdinand the bull. He
yeah.
just had that, you know, that stockiness to him. You know, he looked like a big mean guy, but he was just a gentle giant. And Blue was the quiet one. Blue was like late to wake up, you know, let me just chill and take my time getting out of the whelping box while everyone's running out.
Yeah,
But his structure was good, his bone mass, and to me, it was his temperament. The final straw for me was just his temperament. I grew up, like I said, with pits, man, and they were always high drive on the go as soon as they wake up, um, which I love. I definitely love that in a dog, but Blue just had that. Let me take my time, you know. I'll get there, but just let me get there how I want to get there, and I'm gonna get there, you know. Blue just had the build and just
yeah.
his temperament to me and attitude was just what sold it for me. You know, and having young kids, I
That
felt like I needed something that wasn't as high drive, but was still gonna have that wow to him. And he showed that I believe I posted some pictures of him real young, and I think 4 weeks he was just like I knew, you know,
yeah.
I knew he was gonna do something good.
That's awesome. So, do you have a theory, in your opinion, like, as to how Blue turned out the way he did? Like, did you ever think about it and go, okay, so he took this from the mom side, this from the dad side, knowing the trend, he may have pulled a mask from this side. Like, did that ever cross your mind? Did you ever think about it like that when, as he was developing, like, okay, I could definitely see how he looks the way he does.
Yeah, definitely did. And again, just studying what's behind him. He pulled a lot from his dad, Nino. He definitely pulled a lot, or from his grandpa, I would say, Nino.
Mhm.
And that's when I got Sage. That's I wanted Nino. I offered to buy Nino off of Giovanni,
Yeah,
because that was the dog for me that just checked all the boxes. I feel like he pulled a lot from Nino's side, but then I also saw the influence on the Miyagi side from Chaos and what was behind Chaos.
yeah,
But like I said, Dax is probably one of my favorite bulls of all time, and Nino mixed with the Dak's granddaughter or Dak's daughter, I saw some similarities in the face on Blue to Dax, which is crazy to say because I hate comparing dogs like that. You know, that's a legend in the community. He's the one that set it off really for the American Bully that we know now. He did so much producing that really solidified him and consistently gave us that look. So I feel like he pulled a lot from mom's side, but blessed to have the Miyagi in there because it kind of chiseled some of those traits and gave us something that refined, you know, and gave us just that bit difference from the straight Dax dogs.
So let's talk a little bit about that Nationals run. Take us through what that entire journey was like from his first show he ever showed in to his Nationals win.
Man, so this is good thing you got some time, brother. so I, like I said, I wanted a dog that had some prestige to it, that came from some champion, you know, bloodlines, and you know, gave me some starting point, you know, to get in on the show side. Like I said, we had to do some convincing with Giovanni on Nino, and we champed him out. I went to a few shows with him just to like, hey, you know, you ain't in this alone, bro. Let's do it. You know, I support you. I'm confident in your dog. Like, if I'm gonna put my confidence in your dog, I need you to believe in your own dog too. So he ended up getting out there and hitting some shows, man, and it was a beautiful thing, winning against the dogs at that time, which was Mufasa. And that kind of shocked people because he's not a big time shower and breeder either. So he was, you know, definitely made a name for himself in the few shows that he hit. And to me, that was kind of, all right, if he can do it, man, I'm going to jump in and get in on it too. And I showed Blue for the first time at, I believe 11 months, 10 and a half, 11 months at a local show here in California. It was about a 3-hour drive for me. But it was local to me. You know, we don't get very many here in California, so I made the drive. Didn't even get a booth, man. Kind of hit someone up and said, "Hey, can I bump some crate space in your booth while I show this dog?" And they open heartedly, man. Shout out to Bobby and Marcus of man, I can't even think of the kennel, but shout out to Bobby and them for letting me bump some space out in Dinuba. But I showed him and I got 90 points in the major on my first time ever showing him. Never been, you know, in the ring myself. And that was huge to me. I figured, all right, next show, he's going to be a little more mature. Let me get him out to these next shows, which was a more local show to me. And I took him out and we ate thirds all day. And I hate to say it, but it was to lesser dogs. But the handler just had the dogs working and she had them on point. You know, she presented them really well. And that's when, to me, I knew I'm going to do this dog an injustice if I keep showing him. You know, he's too nice of a dog for me to keep failing him. You know, he has what it takes. I'm obviously not doing something right to present him in the best, you know, picture. A couple days after that show that I ate thirds, I got a phone call from a buddy. And we're going back to the mentor thing real quick. I would say, you know, looking at the grand scheme of things, John Surtees, man, he's played a huge role, obviously, in Blue's show career, but just opening the door for me to allow me to, hey, you know, my wife likes your dog. She beat your ass all weekend with these other dogs, but she fell in love with your dog. Would you mind bringing him over so she can evaluate him? And maybe we can talk about her, you know, presenting him for you. So I made the drive out there to their house, and within 5 minutes, man, Kira had the dog on point. Blue had never been on the end of the lead with anyone other than myself, my wife, and he was skeptical at first. You know, he was looking up at her and just like, what, you know, who are you? What are your intentions? Type of thing. You know, he was skeptical at first, but within 5 minutes, man, he responded to everything Kira was asking of him to do, and just seeing someone else handle your dog the way he moved, man, it's gonna sound crazy, but it was like poetry in motion, man. He was floating. She had him moving, and just seeing it from afar, you're like, damn, like, all right, I wasn't crazy. So handing her the lead and letting her just take him, it was a big leap of faith because they were going out of state. She was heading to Oklahoma that weekend, and I was like, man, I just met you. I know your husband, but I just met you. Like, I don't know. Like, this is a big ask of me, but you know, she ended up saying, you know, we'll take him. If he does good, then you can make up your mind there. And, you know, that's what I did. I put my confidence and trust in her, man. She took him to that show out in Oklahoma. And I knew Grand Champion Tiny was going to be there showing, which at the time was Hove had just passed not too long ago. So Tiny kind of stepped into that number one role, top dog.
Yeah.
I said, what better way to present him and put him on the scene than put him against what's number one and what's out there right now? Like, let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
I sent him out and he came back with 2 out of 4 best in shows. And man, the rest was history, you know? They did their thing and I would go when I could, but Kira, like I said, just presented him amazingly and brought him to the heights that I never even thought were possible. So it was a lot. We started that run with the champion in mind. She got that. Grand Champion wasn't too far behind. That 2019 Nationals, Samson was the main guy. We actually competed against Samson the shows, I think 2 shows before Nationals, and got a breed against him, you know. So I said, man, if he can compete with Samson, who was at the time in California and nationally just starting to build a name himself nationally, I said, man, I think we've got a good shot at, you know, I don't think we're going to win Nationals in 19, but I think, like, let's put him out there so other people can see him that we haven't hit, you know, across the states. People are going to be there from other states that haven't seen him, you know. So
Yeah.
that was 19. And then 20, man, we had a goal in mind to push him hard, promote him hard. And we started off out the gate and he did great. And as you know, COVID kind of put a stop to everything and kind of stopped us in our tracks, which sucked because
Yeah.
it was kind of disheartening, man. I had this goal in mind and it just something that I had no control over, you know. But Kira had,
Yeah.
you know, had in her mind, we're gonna hit whatever we can, whatever is open, we're gonna hit. And she kept pushing them, and we put them in front of as many eyes as possible that year. Got as many breed wins as we could that year. There was no top dog recognition, no nationals that year. So for us, it was just, all right, you know, there's going to be no recognition of it. We're gonna keep them in your face, you know. So when 21 came around, he had already made a name for himself and you know, had a few breedings or litters on the ground that I wouldn't say, you know, really put too much weight on him as a producer, but it was something for me to be able to show, hey, this is what he can do for you breeding wise, but I'm going to keep pushing him show wise. That 21 run was something special, man, because
Yeah, it was.
it was championship or bust, you know, type of feeling. You know, like I said, I'm a big competitor and sports was
Yeah.
a religion for me growing up, but it was, you know, I'm going to give it my all. And if it don't play out, then it wasn't in our favor. But I'm gonna do everything in my power to get him seen and get him on the stage. And we did just that, man. And it was, you know, all glory to God, bro. It worked out, and it was a special moment. I don't even think I have the video saved anymore. I don't even think it's on Facebook anymore. But after Nationals, I went live, man, and it was just man, I'm getting kind of choked up. It was a rush of emotions, man. That just kind of like weight off my shoulders type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
worked so hard for this. I set this goal, man, and we hit it and far more than exceeded it. And it was just, man, I can breathe, you know. COVID tried to stop us, but we hit the pinnacle, you know, and that was the ultimate. To this day, man, I tell people that's the ultimate high, man. That's the ultimate high of adrenaline and emotions. And man, if I can explain that and you guys get a sense of it, man, it would be an amazing euphoric feeling, man, and it was a beautiful thing.
That's, man, the whole journey, bro, is amazing. You know, obviously at that time I was really paying attention to what was going on in the scene because that's when I got it. I got it in 2020,
Okay.
and from there, and obviously what I was doing was just studying everything, right? Because I'm newer, I'm trying to understand pedigrees, and thankfully I had a really good mentor that really put me up on game and sped up the processor really quickly. And once I was able to have these conversations with him, then I started really following, and I started following the dogs. So I was following Blue's journey, and I'm like, damn, Blue is killing it. And man, it's dope to hear the behind the scenes on what that was like, bro. Because man, to achieve that level of height for the American Bully community, obviously it's a very rare community, right? Few people have done it, but to be able to achieve it, it really transcends you and puts you into a completely different light. So my next question for you is, he's on this run, right? He's doing this thing. What was the moment for you when you realized, okay, Blue is a top dog? What was that? What show was it? What was it for you that you were like, yeah, all right, this is very doable? And talk about that.
I would say, like I said, COVID year shut us down, man. But there was still a lot of beautiful dogs competing and just coming into their own. We lost, like I said, in 19. Didn't even place in the first cut, and that kind of stung, just because I knew he was young. I knew he had a lot of maturing to do. There was definitely some nice dogs that made the cut, but I feel like, man, just not even making that first cut really stung and really put, some emphasis on it. Like, I'm gonna make sure you don't forget us again,
Yeah.
type of feeling. Samson, man, was young when he won, and he matured even more after that, after he won in 19. And being a California dog, man, you want to see it win. You want to see the West Coast win, because we were never on that platform like like the East or the Midwest was with the Bulls.
Yeah.
I was very happy for them, man, but it meant a lot more for me too, because we were nobodies really in the game, and we were able to hold our ground against that dog, and kind of solidify that he can hang with him locally. But the national stage, man, I believe Jacksonville was the one where a lot of dogs were coming into their own. Zero was fairly new, but Zero was a big dog, man. Zero was a big dog at that point. And Zero, Jaws 2, Samson, Shots Fired, wasn't able to compete, but at the time was one of the ones that was, giving us a run. And trying to think who else was in that ring with us, man. But it was a beautiful grand champion lineup in that ring. Grand champion Kodiak, I believe, was in there as well. Some big dogs. And that was the show where not only was it a big show attendance-wise, kennel-wise, experienced OGs were in the building. Like, that was something that I felt like really put us on that, I don't want to say pedestal, but on that threshold of, I think we've got something special that we can actually reach that pinnacle and get to that top spot. When we hit Jacksonville and he won, 2 of those 4 and then won the best of the best, I said, you know what, we can definitely push this envelope and solidify a name for him.
Absolutely. So the 2021 Nationals, right? I want you to talk about your emotions and thought process when you were watching Blue compete in that loaded grand champion class. Obviously, that grand champion class was extremely loaded, dude. I was watching the stream. Listen, bro, anytime ABKC Nationals comes on that stream, if I'm not in the building, I'm watching it from the beginning to the end. Yep. And that grand champion class was absolutely incredible. When you look at those dogs, right, and you have Blue, you have a badass dog, how confident were you that he could get the job done? What was that process like for you?
I would say I was really confident, and I'll tell you what, we hit as soon as we touched down in Dallas for that national, man. I said, I had done my part in promoting him as far as pictures. I didn't really do too much video, but when I could, I did get him in front of the camera to get some video. But I felt like, all right, you guys thought you'd seen a lot of Blue in person and on video and pictures, but I'm going to keep him in your guys' face, and I hit the ground running, tapped in with my boy Trevor, and Trevor Cochran. He actually, man, his turnaround on these videos and his editing on them, man, he pushed the envelope for us on what I knew at the time was possible, or thought was possible. And he put us on, and I kept that. As soon as he hit me with it, I put it online, just to keep it fresh and kind of build the anticipation to the next morning, to Nationals. It was actually, I think I got there on a Thursday, and we did 2 days of videos and shit before. And it was amazing to marketing tool, I would say, to keep his presence there and kind of build build a crescendo, you know, to that that height. And just being in the building with some of those dogs, once we got in the ring, I felt confident, but it was also, man, it's also the biggest game of the year. You know, you can have the Patriots season, bro, where you go undefeated and you shit the bed in the championship game. You know, the Giants had Eli had his number. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it was one of those feelings, man. Like it's good, you know, you might, but a lot of those perfect seasons in sports don't end the way people see, you know. And I had that feeling in my mind, and I'll tell you, in my gut, you know, I'm never one of the ones to, you know, I had coaches in high school and stuff that used to throw up before football games and stuff, and I never understood it, you know. But leading up to that day, leading up to that final ring, man, my gut was just like, man, this is 50-50. I don't know. I was confident going in, but it was 50-50 at the end. And I'm like, man, my gut was just like, man, I don't know. I was moving around the ring the whole time, just carrying, you know, water in the fan for Kira and Blue. And the whole time I was just like, man, that gut feeling, like, man, it can go either way. I'm not sure. My confidence ain't there right now, but it's more anxiety than anything. But man, like I said, we were blessed to and fortunate for the outcome that did come. But the confidence in that ring, I would say, was 50-50 at that time. It was more anxiety than confidence, I would say.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy that you said that at the end, because I was gonna go with that with the next question. You know, I think when we start talking about the magnitude of the event, right, ABKC Nationals, and you start thinking about, well, who's gonna come out to this event, and you start realizing that this is a platform for the greatest dogs in the American Bully community at that time to all be at one show. And when you start looking at their greatness, and it's like it's a battle of the great dogs, like when you, it's like the playoffs, it's the postseason. You know, you hit the conference finals. Now you in the World Series or the Super Bowl, for example. And that's the equivalent of what the Nationals is to the American Bully. And to be able to have those great dogs all in one ring, first off, it's must-see TV. I try to explain that to anybody in my content, that if you really want to see what a badass American Bully looks like, go to Nationals.
Gotta be at Nationals.
You have to go to Nationals, because when you see it, it's, oh man, oh yeah, that's a lot of dog right there, and that really, it's a great way to showcase the breed, you know. So this goes into my next question: does the anxiety go up or down once you clear the best grand champion class?
Man, I would say at that time in 21, I would say yes, but there was also a badass female that was in the building at the time, and females get overlooked a lot. But I'm a big believer in just in following mine and Blue's story, you know, in this dog game. I'm a big believer of, and I tell people this all the time, man. It's any dog's day, any given Saturday on show day, you know, and Nationals being the exception, you know, to the rule too, because not everyone has the money or the time to campaign for a full year. So you might not see these dogs more than a few times, you know, that you're competing against. And even then, you're going to get some of the heavy hitters that haven't shown in a while come off the couch, or you're going to get that dog that no one's seen that, you know, if it's that dog, he's got a chance, man. I don't put it past anybody. You know, it's any dog's day. You don't know what judge, you know, the preferences on the judge that day, you know, what he's looking for. You don't know how the dog's going to perform. So there's a lot of what ifs that day of. But once you get past that grand champion class, or at least once we did that year, I felt a big relief. But then, you know, you get to show, or you get to breed, and you're like, man, they can still go either way. That female's nice, you know, that female carries a lot on her. For a female, like it was still up in the air. But again, just we came out on the positive side of that, and it was a big sigh of relief on that, as far as getting that breed win there.
That's crazy. So judge walks around and evaluates the dogs for best at show. What was going through your head in that moment? You're looking at the judge walking, you're like, oh, here we go. Now this is the best of show. This is the best of all the dogs showing?
Mm-hmm.
What's going through your mind? Because this is the last step. Obviously, you got the best of breed. We're good, but
Mm-hmm.
now this is to complete the journey.
Yeah.
What's that like? Take us through what's going through the mind in that moment.
If I'm being 100% honest, man, I was at that moment in time, I was satisfied and happy with breed. I was there and I was paying attention, but I just wasn't like, I was still on that euphoric high of like, man, we set out for our goal to be a national winner and we got the breed. Like that to me was it. I feel like I'm good. If we lose best in show, I'm still gonna go eat good tonight, and celebrate because that was the goal I had set out for.
Yeah.
But that best in show, man, just kind of was the cherry on top, and it just it emphasized like, hey, yeah, you had your goal in mind, but others thought and put your dog up for the even higher accolade. And to me, that was following our journey, man. We'll have to circle back to how the breeding actually took place, but just for me, that was the cherry on top, and that kind of solidified it and made it the nightcap. That was a huge victory for us, and it was big. My wife had actually flown in to see the show. She wasn't able. She went to Jacksonville. She hit that big show with me, which was huge, and she hit national. She only hit 2 shows with me that year, and having her there with me, man, was like to experience that was huge, man. It was a beautiful thing, and it's something I will never forget. Something that's engraved in my mind forever, and I'm really appreciative of her and her support. But it was just like I said, the icing on the cake, man. It was huge.
Absolutely. So, Judge picks your dog, right? Now, obviously, you're in a euphoric state. We're excited. But honestly, after that, because you got that initial reaction, right,
Mm-hmm.
of winning. But honestly, how does it feel to see your production win the most prestigious title in the ABKC? How does that follow up? Like, man, we did it. And then the days after, man, what's going through your mind? Like, damn, like, we
Man,
did
so that, like you said, that's the Super Bowl of our sport. We're
it.
not in Westminster as much as I would love to see the American Bully on that platform, man. That's the ultimate goal, honestly. But to me, that was our Westminster.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a who's who in the bully community, that knows the dogs, that studies the dogs, that started out on that path of, hey, this is what we intend to do with the American Bully, was in that building. And once that win came through, man, there was a lot of OGs, bro, that I've heard of and never met, that whether it be in person or online via messages and all that, they reached out. And man, I feel like that was, to me, the highest compliment and highest honor. Just kind of getting their blessing, it was kind of the passing of the torch. I felt like at that point with all right, the breed's in a good spot with this dog. Like, this is what we set out for. That just won. Like, that was something that I got a lot of feedback from on some of the OGs. Like, look, when we started this thing in the early 2000s, that was the vision, and straight from the goat's mouth, man. The president, he said he had come out to Cali, the year before and did some video and stuff and whatnot, and that's when the new drawings had come out. And he said, you know what? Look at the drawing. He said that looks a lot like your dog. He didn't say that's your dog per se, but he said that resembles your dog closest to what it needs to be. That's what we were looking for when we started this breed. And just hearing that out of Dave's mouth was huge, because again, I'm not a big time breeder. I don't have multiple dogs lined up like that. But just getting that word from the OGs was huge, So winning that nationals, man, kind of just solidified and gave us that credibility of, hey, you got other people's respect, you got other people's eyes watching your dog, and they appreciate what you've done with them.
So Blue then follows that up with an international nationals win.
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, which of two shows, which one had the tougher competition?
I would say 21 nationals. I wasn't able to attend either of the South American nationals or the Euro nationals, but I would say just the caliber of dogs at that time in 21 that were all going for that title uh, was the biggest hurdle for us, and ultimately the biggest achievement for us because of what was in that ring, and who we were competing against, and all that. So I feel like 21 U.S. Nationals was probably the biggest takeaway from competition standpoint. Although there was some beautiful dogs in Central America, Colombia always brings some heat. They got a lot of hidden gems out that way, man. And since that point, I would tell you, man, they've stepped up huge. Colombia has, Spain has some beautiful dogs. All across the globe, they're producing some badass dogs now, and I feel like at that time, Central and Euro, there really wasn't anything on Blues level at that time. So I would say the US 21 was probably our biggest competition, competition wise.
So after the internationals win, did you ever contemplate maybe retiring Blue from the show ring while he was still on top? How did that decision making go for you?
So I actually did, man, and she's gonna kill me for it. I told Kira, I said, man, we've been pushing since the end of 19. This shit's expensive. Like, I ain't gonna lie. And he had been on the road so much, man. My wife was never a dog person growing up. They had some dogs, but she was never really invested in them. Like didn't really pay too much attention to her brother's dogs and stuff. The kids, my daughter was always like, ew, slobber, ew, dog hair. Like she was never, my son is the one that loves all animals, man, and he was real caring of them. But it was at that point when they're like, we miss Blue being home, we miss having our dog here,
Yeah.
he's our dog. Why does he got to be out every weekend, And I'm like, you know what? Like that really hit a spot with me where I'm like, all right, Kira, like sis, we gotta pull him back a little bit and kind of calm him down because he just needs to be a dog now. I just want to enjoy him now for what he is and just being our family dog.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, she was highly upset with me and said, you're gonna have to come pry him out of my hands, because she still felt he was at that point still the best representation and still had a lot to offer in terms of showmanship. She wanted to get him even to a higher platform and out further internationally so that others can see him. Our ultimate goal initially, when I agreed to her showing him, was the US. Take him across the states, let people see him and put hands on him. Like you said earlier, it's one thing to see pictures and videos of the dog online. It's another thing to physically see the dog in front of you, being able to pet the dog and feel the solidness of the dog and what he is. I'm a big believer in seeing is believing, as far as in person, because a lot of the dogs that I saw online that I was like, man, I put them on a pedestal, and I'm not trying to hate or talk shit on nobody, but pictures and videos don't absolutely do no justice, man. You can get some beautiful quality shots and stuff like that, but you got to physically see a dog to truly appreciate and understand what is in front of you, what's behind that dog. Not just that, you get a feel for the person who owns the dog or handling the dog. You get that vibe off them. Do I want to associate with this person? Do I want to incorporate them into my realm? So yeah, there was a time where I'm like, you know what, we need to pull him back and just bring him home, But I'm glad she put the brakes on that, because that introduced us to the European market the following year. And that was huge. And if I can go back and take him with me, we'd go back, because we made a full family vacation of it. We didn't go to the Euro Nationals, but we ended up getting invited to Italy the following year to present him. And that was something I felt like, man, huge, in Italy. Who don't want to go to Italy, bro? Like that's, you feel me? Like that's the old country. And I'm Mexican. My wife's Filipino. Her dad is Maltese. Not quite exactly Italian, but on that side of the world, he's a little boot that Sicily's kicking.
Yeah.
So I said, man, let's make a vacation out of it. And we went to Europe ourselves, and being able to go after he had won Euro Nationals was huge because we met some of the people that he competed against, some of the dogs he competed against, some of the people that were in the building when he won. And man, I'll tell you what, we made some lifelong friends in Italy. I can pick up the phone and message someone or call someone, and hey, they got an open door for me, man, with as much food as we want in Italy, you know. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
love out there in Europe, man, and it's a blessing. And I'm glad Kira put the brakes on it because it opened up more doors for us and business opportunities that, again, I never even fathomed, you know.
yeah. So talk about the decision making, right? In having Blue compete in the 2022 ABKC Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that year Zero was going on this historic run. I had the opportunity to see Zero a couple of times that year when he came this way to show.
Mm-hmm.
In that year, when you decided to bring him out, because I believe that was also a surprise too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to defend the Nationals title, or were you going into you were like this, man? I think this is definitely be a dog fight. We could definitely probably still get this. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, man, I wouldn't have put him in if I didn't think he had a chance. I definitely thought he can still compete at the time. Zero was the dog that year, you know. Not taking anything away from them because he is that specimen, bro. He is that dog. He brings a lot of dog to you. You know, he's massive, and he has a lot of great qualities. You know, but man, we can still compete with them. We might be a little older than them, but I feel like, man, Blue still got it. Um, and I feel like a lot of that was just the competitor in me again, just like, hey, you know, you want the top spot, you got to take it, and that's just how I was raised. You know, you're gonna be in a dogfight, you want to prove you're the best, you got to take it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely 100% happy for them. They set the goal and they achieved it. You know, that was huge. It sucks to lose. It always sucks to lose, man. But when you lose to a deserving dog, uh, I think it was a fair fight. You know, I probably could have done more on my end on preparing Blue. You know, he was a couch potato at that time, wasn't showing. I didn't have him, you know, conditioned as much as I should. His training wasn't really there because, you know, I didn't put him in Kira's hands in time to let them, you know, rebuild that that connectivity and that, you know, that rapport.
Yeah.
But I feel like he still went out there and you know, competed and gave Zero, you know, a good run for his money on that title. But do we want to win them all? Hell yeah, always. But
Absolutely.
I wasn't, you know, I wasn't, you know, it wasn't, you know, killing the motivation at the end of the day to, you know, I knew what I had at home. I knew that the people knew what Blue was at that point. So the loss sucked, but it is what it is. You know, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And it was good, man. It was good for the community to see. That was more so for me, um, giving the people what they wanted, you know.
Yeah.
There had never been a two-time winner. Yeah, we're gonna roll the dice and try it.
Yeah.
But there was two dogs leading into this thing that arguably at the time, man, Blue and Zero, you had to be there to 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 really grasp all of it and appreciate it, man, because at that time there wasn't two heavyweights that were batting the lat like that, man. And that was something that when you're there in person, seeing them float around the ring, man, your jaw is on the ground because how are these dogs that big, moving that well? Like that shouldn't be happening, you know. That's one thing that we constantly hear, like how are they doing this, you know? And a lot of it goes back to the amazing handlers behind them, you know. Um, Shout out to Hannah and James and Sam on Zero. But Kira and Hannah, man, they put on a show. And if showmanship has any definition, man, them two are right there. You know, picture of them right next to it.
So you did a surprise reveal and blew out the 2023 ABKC Nationals. A lot of people, including myself, I thought he was retired. Talk about that decision in putting him back in the ring, because, you know, I really thought he was retired. And I think that we had some people that probably felt some kind of way about that. So talk about your position on it and what that decision-making process was like. And I'll echo my thoughts afterwards. So
Okay.
go ahead, brother, man. Tell us, what was that decision-making like for the 2023 ABKC Nationals?
So again, I was already, coming off the 22 loss. I said, you know what, he ain't got nothing more to prove. He won nationals, went and won South American nationals. Or not, he had won South American nationals. Um, he's got nothing else to prove. His son is top dog this year. Like, I don't want to put him out there. Like, it's Hangman's win, to take. I don't want to put Blue out there to steal their spotlight, and that's my mindset on it to start off with. Again, the strong forces behind Blue, man, just a lot of people in my ear just saying, hey, I think he can still compete, like he's still that dog, I think he can still do it. And it was honestly, it took a sit down between me, John, Kira. My wife had a heavy input on it too. I got a little bit of feedback from some of the other OG judges on it, and they said, you know what, I get where you're coming from, not wanting to steal anyone's platform or anything like that, because I never want to take anyone's shine. They put in the work, they deserve it.
Yeah.
We was on that hype in 19 and 20 when we we had a goal in mind. We're gonna meet it without, if any roadblocks come, we're gonna push through it. Lee is a great friend of mine, real humble dude, real respectable dude. So it was tough for me to say yes, but ultimately, man, I said, you know what? I don't want him there, but I can see everyone's input and I can see why, because again, coming back to the ultimate competitor thing for me, if you want to claim that title, man, you gotta come through and bust through the door for it. And what better way, man, than presenting a father and son on that stage, on the big Super Bowl stage, man. I didn't know that was probably for me. 21 was the ultimate euphoric high winning it. 23 was like amplified because if you weren't in that building, man, I've been to nationals. I went to 2015 nationals when he was here in California. I went to 19, 21, 22. I was there. 23 was a different animal. The atmosphere going into it, the energy in the building, man, was electrifying. I can feel that coming from the ground through my feet, through my whole body, bro. It was a crazy feeling. Like I said, you had to be there to feel that excitement and that energy in that building. But once we did it, and ultimately we took the L on that one. But man, I feel like we didn't lose. It was a win-win. We put Blue out there to say, hey, the old man still got it. He can still compete with what's out there right now. And what's out there right now is his son. And his son just took the crown. Again, that to me was kind of the passing of the torch,
Yeah.
And I hope that was my hope, that people would see it that way. But obviously there was a lot of people that didn't see it that way, that thought, oh, we're coming out to slight these people and take it from them and whatnot. Yeah, I think he had a real good chance to win. But again, was it great to see my friend win, man? Was it great to see his emotion and energy after he won? Hell yeah. That was an ultimate, again, that was another ultimate high, just seeing the excitement, because I know, being in their shoes, I know what it took to get there. And I know what weight, of relief it was off the shoulders for Lee and Devin on, they faced some odds, especially when we announced that Blue was going to be in the building and in the ring. Like, they definitely felt some pressure. But they're super confident, man. If anyone's confident, Devin is, man, she's tough as fucking nails, man. Devin went in there with the goal, and just with Lee's blessing, man, they put on a show. And I feel like Devin, Kira, Tone, handling Zeus, again, the energy in that building was something electrifying, man. And it was a beautiful thing to be there and see. And I appreciate the opportunity to even reach that point again, that grand champion class, being in that last three with them. It was huge, man. Again, it was it was a win-win. We took the L, but it was a win-win at the end of the day. And I'm super happy for Lee and Hangman, because Hangman, man, he's still that dog, bro. He's still, and he's only matured more. And I just got a picture and a video yesterday. Boy, that dog is not slowing down.
Yeah, dude, I had the opportunity to film Hangman earlier this year,
Mm-hmm.
and man, he is. I would call him a walking muscle. I mean, when I saw him, I'm like, man, this makes no sense how much muscle mass this dog has. And that was my first time seeing him in person, because obviously I had followed his journey from when he was 7 months old. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually had picked him the year 01 as a sleeper to win the Nationals that year, because I was really liking the way he was looking. So I knew going forward, and I knew the way he moves, man, because the way he moves is, ooh, it is so smooth. So I knew, I'm like, hey, this dog has the potential to be national winner next year.
Mm-hmm.
He turned around, he ends up winning. But you know, this is the thing, right? Because that show season was really tight between Hangman and Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
When you put Blue in there, right? Did you think that that would be arguably the greatest moment in American bully history? Because obviously you talked about the energy, you talked about what that atmosphere was like. But when you see Zeus looking as badass as he did, Hangman looking as badass as he did, and Blue looking as badass as he did, I mean, bro, it doesn't get much better than that, bro. Like the top three, to be able to reach the top three, and that grand champion class was absolutely loaded too. And
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at these dogs, man, to achieve the top three, and I get it, bro. If you don't come out on top, you don't come out on top. But I felt like for that, it was so big, because you had Blue, you had his son, Hangman, and you had Zeus. I mean, listen, but for me personally, there's something that has to be said about the greatness of Blue when he's in there with his son in the final three
Mm-hmm.
with Zeus. You know, did you think that it would turn out the way it did when you showed him? Because I remember when you like sent like a story that you posted that he was gonna be there, and everyone was like, Blue's coming out. Like, so did you was that moment, was that in the cards for you? Like, did you think it would escalate to that level?
No, I knew dropping that late little video was definitely gonna open some chatter lines and stuff, and it did. People took it the wrong way, and like I said, I wasn't trying to take anyone's shine, but I feel like I'm a competitor, man. You want that title, you gotta come take it.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew I hadn't seen Hangman in a minute, prior to that. But I knew he had matured. And then seeing him in person, man, I think when I got to the building that day and I saw him in person, I said, man, this is gonna be bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
And then I saw Zeus. I hadn't seen Zeus since a pup. I hadn't seen Zeus since he was real young. Uh, and I know their run that year together for that top dog was very close, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think the anticipation leading up to it, I didn't put as much emphasis and weight on it as once I saw both of them that day prior to showing. It was like me throwing gas on the fire. It
Yeah.
kind of intensified it all. But it also added to what can be done. We've strived so hard. The OGs before us have pushed so hard to get to this pinnacle, man. And I feel like we hit that with those three in the final ring, man. And it was, again, the energy when those final three, it could have gone to any dog. It could have gone Zeus. It could have gone Blue. It could have gone Hangman. I think everyone in that building, maybe the internet judges wouldn't have been happy with either of the other picks, but anyone in that building will tell you, man, it could have gone anyway. Any dog could have walked out with it, and those people would have been satisfied that they got their money's worth for that pay-per-view fight, that pay-per-view event. Because that's what it was, bro. That's in that
Exactly what
moment.
it was.
In that moment, that's what it was. It was huge energy. Everyone was standing up. No one was sitting down. Everyone was on. If they were on the edge of their seat, biting their nails. That's what kind of event it was.
Yeah.
There were boxers in a championship match throwing blows. Anyone's about to fall if they catch one of these. So but it was beautiful, man. I think that was a beautiful last three. Blue not having shown that year and being, in any of the top, top rankings like that, compared to Hangman and Zeus, but being able to come out and give the people a show was the ultimate, the ultimate takeaway for me, just to give the people that vibe and energy, because I don't know. I don't think it'll be matched, man.
Yeah, that moment was. We're talking about you're combining now the handler's ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we understand how amazing the three handlers are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're matching the handler's energy with the quality of dog.
Yep.
And I think when you combine those two elements and you have badass dogs with some amazing handlers, you get the result that you got at that nationals that day,
Yes, sir.
because the dogs were in sync with the handlers. They were truly showcasing what makes the American Bully breed special. Dude, I'm watching the live and I'm like this, bro, I can only imagine what it's like to be in the ring right now and being in that atmosphere, because, and I just call it like how I see it. I'm looking at the judge, and man, this judge is like, oh man, I gotta choose between these three, and he's like, yo, go down and back again, go down and back again. I stack him up because he's really trying to nitpick, and I do think that for me personally, I feel like that was such a great direction for the breed, just because it shows that we're starting to get closer towards getting that unified look
Mm-hmm.
that makes it very, very difficult to choose who the winner is. Because, I've shown in UKC, right? And I'll use this for an example. When you look at the other dog breeds that are shown in UKC, and I'm sure this applies to the AKC as well. But when you look at the dogs and the handlers, dude, the dogs damn near look identical. The only thing that separates them is the level at which they're handled. And sometimes that is how they choose which dog is the winner that day. And I felt like that was the first time that I had been going to the shows and watching the ABKC shows that we really had like one of those moments where it's like, yo, we don't know where this is gonna go. Like this is like, it's tough. Like this is like it's so close, bro. Like it's any, like you said, any dog could take it that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in that process, right, you're looking at them, you see Blue in the ring. These are three, like I said, truly iconic dogs. Did you think at any point when he kept telling the dogs to go down and back that Blue could pull it off?
I knew at that point it was picking between the first one to deviate from what he was looking for. Like he was looking for the dog to make the mistake or the handler to make that small little mistake, because like you said, that was the first time that we had seen in person all three. Like I said, it can go either way. You literally have to come down to whose nails are trimmed the best, like who's bathed and who's came in the ring ready, like who's literally you're picking between, because all dogs meet the criteria. All dogs have every characteristic they need to say that's an American Bully. That is the best representation of of this ring presentation. So literally the anxiety on that level, man, when they went down and back and he asked them to do it a couple times, side stacks, front stacks, getting crouching down and looking at the movement, like he was literally, I would hate to be in Joaquin's shoes at that time, because man, that could go either way. Any dog can win it. But I understand it and I respect it, because if you want to be an unbiased judge and let people know, hey, I don't play politics. I don't play, this is my favorite dog. Like, no, like he had a real decision to make in real time, and he did it the best of his ability and did it professionally. And it was just, it was beautiful to see, because like you said, we're not UKC, we're not at that level, we're not at AKC level, we're not at Westminster, but that was our Westminster, that was our ABKC presentation to the world, to our community at least, that hey, this is where we should all strive to be. This is what we should all want in our breeding programs, in our showmanship, in our professionalism. Like, this is what we all need to be at right here. And it was beautiful to see, man, because Tone had that dog Zeus, man.
Yeah, man.
He was a well-oiled machine, and he was
What?
moving, boy.
Yes, he
And
was.
and, and Devin had
Ooh-wee.
Hangman floating, man. He
Yeah.
was just, like I said, it could have gone any way because they all had those dogs performing.
Yeah, man, 1000%. So, you know, I told you before that I was going to give my thoughts on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's something to be said for the greatness of Blue, right? Because now we're factoring this in, right? We're talking about a prolonged period of time that he has shown at an elite level, right? When you look at the accomplishments, Nationals winner, Euro Nationals, Columbia Nationals, out in South America, you understand the achievements he has, right? But I think there's something to be said that in the 2022 ABKC Nationals, he places top five. Now, granted, you said that he didn't show at the level that you thought he should have been at when he went there to compete. But I think when you followed that up, Nationals winner with a top five appearance, now that's putting this dog in elite territory. You factor that in that now the following year he places top threes in the ring with his son. Now we're talking about, hey, listen, bro. This is now 3 Nationals appearances. This is a test of time thing now. The accolades are behind him. He's in the ring with his son. Top three. It could go either way. I mean, at some point, I get it. Some people might have felt that, hey, he's trying to take away the light. I never felt that way. I think what it further did was it further solidified Blue's legacy as one of the greatest American bullies ever. And I think that when you put it on that type of a stage, this isn't a regular show, you know. And obviously, I'm not in no way discrediting any of the shows, right? Because they all do amazing jobs. But like we spoke about earlier, Nationals is the Super Bowl for the American bully breed. To have Blue compete on that level 3 times and win top five, top three, and have all the accomplishments that he has behind him, bro, that's you're talking about you're treading on very thin ice, bro. There's not many that can attempt that, yet alone execute it. And I do believe that even though some people might have felt the way about it, that all it did for me was it solidified Blue as being one of the greatest American bullies ever. And yeah, man, I just wanted to echo that because, dude, that when you think about the accomplishments and you look at Blue, it's like, damn, bro. And I think, like, for me personally, right, because I know you guys have one, but I do think when you see him in the ring with his son, there's something to be said about him as a producer now, because that breeding um that created Hangman is not just him. It's Cerebrus, it's Ragnar, it's the
It's
Juno.
Juno. Yep.
That's 4 grand champions in one breeding.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the ring with his son. Ragnar is ranked in the top 10 going into the Nationals this year. I think that something has to be said that Blue definitely, I know he's gotten the respect he deserves, but he is definitely one of those dogs that I think when it's all said and done, he will go down as probably one of the most iconic dogs to ever grace the breed. And man, yeah, I just wanted to give you my take in person because I've done it on my YouTube videos, but I wanted to give my take and tell you that, man, I co-signed that decision 1000%, bro, because I just think that further added to his greatness. And I think that when it's all said and done, you could just go, there's the resume, bro. I'll leave it like that, you know?
Man, man, I'll tell you what, bro. So I'm real big on not putting. I used to back in the day, like put a lot of emphasis on what people thought and how I presented myself and carried myself. But as you grow older, man, I got kids now, and I got things change. Especially coming into the dogs. There's a lot of ego and stuff that plays into it, a lot of politics, a lot of side shit that happens that people don't see. But man, like there's a lot of side punches and stuff, and people pull some shady shit.
Yeah.
But I think for me, just setting a goal and following that narrow path, like I feel like to me that's my biggest accomplishment within the dog world is not listening to the noise because there was a lot of it. I could have veered off on any avenue and self-destructed and ruined the dog's image, ruined, you know, my handler's image, and all that. But I kept it professional. I kept it 100 with everyone, bro, whether I like you or not. Like you knew how I felt.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just for me, again, not being a big time breeder, having multiple dogs that I can pull out every single day or every single weekend, like, I feel accomplished in that, because we set out and we hit every bar that we set, you know. And like you said, that 23 with Blue and Hangman in the same ring, that to me was me just saying, hey, we're here, you know. He is what he is. You can hate it, you can love it, but one thing you got to do is you got to respect it.
Gotta respect it. You have to.
So just hearing that takeaway from you, man, that's huge, bro. I appreciate that, because at the end of the day, that's all we wanted. You know, we just wanted to make sure that people understood the grind. You know, it wasn't easy whatsoever. It never was, financially, mentally, emotionally. It gets draining, but man, you stick to yourself. You do your thing. You set out, you know, to accomplish your goal. Don't listen to the outside noise, man. You're going to gain that respect from people. And like I said, they don't have to like you. People that had something to say about Blue being in the ring, I love their dogs. I love their productions. I love their program. But man, you feel some type of way, I know I'm a threat, because we did it without any of the chatter. We didn't have to play your guys' games. You know, we did it, and we did it to where, you know, we're a presence now. We don't have we let the dog do the work and do the talking, because I don't have to, you know. And that to me is my biggest takeaway, because I'm good, bro. I'm chilling at home with my dog. We're retired. We're enjoying it. You can sleep with my dog on your mind. And that's enough for me to be like, you know what, we accomplished something. Blue has made a name for himself. Whether you want to include him in your, you know, top dogs or whatever, I think he's cementing his legacy.
I agree with you. I will definitely echo that sentiment. After the 2023 Nationals, like I said, it cemented that we could go down the list of accolades. We could go down all the accomplishments. But the fact that he did that 3 times at Nationals, it's very difficult to repeat. But to be in their consideration 2 more times after winning, dude, you're really that's really elite territory, bro. That's reaching legendary status, especially for the accolades. You get what I'm saying? What's next for Martinez Bullz? Do you plan on jumping back in and breeding? What's next for you guys?
Man, and my wife ain't on these podcasts, or she ain't on social media like that, so she ain't gonna hear it until I play it back for her. But it's been nice taking a break. I'm not gonna lie. I've been more present in my daughter's sports, my son's activities and stuff. You know, been more present in their schooling and whatnot. Just being present and being there on weekends with them, man, is huge for my growth, both spiritually, mentally. And they're at that age where they need their dad home. You know, they might not tell me that they need me, but just being there, man, seeing them grow, it happens quick. Time flies.
Yep.
They might not appreciate it now, but I'm hoping they appreciate it later, because I love being home, man. I love being their dad. I love being a part of their life. So as far as getting back in, I don't see it happening for a while. I do have some pup back breedings that I'm doing that I may have some ownership on some of those, or I may outright sell them. But if it comes down to it, man, that itch is always there to come back, you know. And the competitor in me, Jordan retired, bro, but he didn't stay retired for long, you know.
Yeah, he came back.
He came back twice, bro. So
twice.
So I don't want to say never, but for now I enjoy what I'm doing with the family and the kids and my wife. But if I get that dog that I feel can compete at the level, man, you better believe I'm gonna put my weight behind it and push that envelope again. But as it stands right now, man, we're gonna chill, we're gonna hang back and enjoy the American Bully as we see it. You know, I really do wish there was a lot more camaraderie and a lot more like inclusivity with everyone, because in order to grow, man, the community needs that. I don't know if you paid any attention to this last weekend, or the weekend before last, Paulina show in was it Indiana, I believe.
Indiana had a really huge show. A lot of great dogs came out there to go show.
I wasn't there personally, but just seeing the videos and pictures from it, man, I got that sense that, man, this is what we need right here. We need a lot more of that. We need a lot more of that positivity, a lot more of that that caliber of dogs competing for the American Bully to reach that pinnacle. So in my hopes, I hope they do get to that point, because it'd be a beautiful thing to see it reach that pinnacle that was wanted, you know, from the start of the dogs. But I feel like we've backtracked, unfortunately, a lot the last couple of years, and it sucks to see, because there really is some good people and beautiful dogs in the community. It's just egos and pride need to be put aside for the dog. What we're all here for, what the community was based on, is the breed. For them to reach that status, we all need to come together to make it happen, because not one person can do it, man. We can all point the finger and blame, you know, point the finger at Dave and say, why aren't you doing this? Why is this happening? Bro, it takes a village. It really does, you know. And if he could, he'd be a one-man show breeding and putting out, but that's not how a breed works, you know. You got to put the dogs in other people's hands and grow it as a unit to reach that pinnacle. And I hope, for the love of the breed, man, that it hits that, because it's a beautiful breed. I would hate to see it diminish anymore. They're beautiful dogs, man. They're beautiful dogs. I don't think I will own other breeds. I will say, but if I got to pick, the American Bully is the breed that will always be near and dear to my heart, and I will always come back to the American Bully.
Absolutely, dude. The thing that I would say, right, is that I feel like now, because I've seen the transition of the dogs, right, it feels like now we're getting to a point where we're getting these dogs with the substance that we desire, right, but they're also coming better with confirmation. And I feel like once we start really honing in, we're gonna be able to create dogs that get us closer to where we want to be, in the longevity of the breed. Now, the reason why I say that is because the purpose of this podcast, and I stand on the mission statement, is to push the American Bully breed forward. No politics, no drama, only positivity for the breed. And that's the reason why I do this podcast, because I genuinely love these dogs, dude. These dogs, they changed my life, man. You know, obviously I haven't disclosed my complete personal story, bro, but dude, when my pops passed, I was a wreck. I was like that for years. And when I got my dogs, they brought it back. And I'm just trying to give back to the community what my dogs gave back to me. And if I could help someone, you know, with their life, bro, that's all I'm hoping for, man. And the goal is, through this podcast, like I said before, is when you start hearing some of these conversations with these breeders, you start really going like, oh, yo, this is the real deal. Like, this isn't, hey, let's just pair these two dogs up and sell them for money. You know, and I had this idea, bro. It hit me one day. Like, we look at Dax, right? We know what Ed Shepherd did, and we understand what he did for the breed, right? But how dope would it have been to have an interview with Ed Shepherd and go, hey, listen, what was that like when you decided to pair up Romeo and forget, I think it was Barbie. Did you think you was gonna get Dax? And hearing his thought process behind it, that's what I felt the community really needed. It's the thought process of the breeder, because often we have these dogs and they're iconic dogs that look amazing, but we don't have the face behind those dogs. We just know the dogs. We don't really know the breeder. We just know that they're producing some badass dogs. And the goal with this is to show the mindset, how you go about pairing up the dogs that you do, in hopes of newer people going, oh shit, that's what it took to create that dog. You know what? If it worked for them, that might work for me. You get what I'm saying? And that's the main goal behind this podcast. So we're gonna wrap it up, right? I want you to give you personally, right? I'm curious in your opinion on this. Which traits for you are hard to get and easy to lose, and what traits for you make the dog a pet quality dog?
Man, traits that are hard to get I feel like right now with what we're seeing in the dogs, is the short upper arm. You get a lot of variance in the heights and stuff. I know we've got different classes and all that. There's supposed to be, but just getting a consistent breedings that will give you just that. The short, the short upper arm, the rear assembly again. One thing that I see a lot of in the bulls, and man, it's a pet peeve of mine. I absolutely hate it. Is the long backs. Like, you can have a beautiful front shoulder set, head, neck on the dog. You turn the dog around and you're cruising the old school Cadillac, the limo. Like, man, that to me like just ruins it just ruins the rest of it for me. And I hate it. So if we can consistently produce dogs that are more proportionate and look like the front view of the dog can carry that with the back length and incorporate that solid foundation of the rear, I feel like that's something that for me, I would love to see in the breed moving forward. How we get there is just more studying of the genetics, studying of the bloodlines, getting that greed out of people, and moving that to the side, because there ain't no room for it. If you want to better a breed and grow a breed, that shit all got to go out the window. Like, you need to filter through and find the people that are true to it and want to move it forward, not just the bank account. At the end of the day, again, we're here for the dogs. We're here to produce and get dogs to the Super Bowl, to that level, to compete at that level, to give the judges that hard ass decision to, like, hey, this is going to be your call. You got to pick between these X amount of beautiful specimens, which they all look alike. I'm hoping at some point they will all look alike and give them that, man, this is going to be a tough pick. But I feel a lot of it is just refining the breedings, closing in on the bloodlines that give us those traits that we need, and just putting those together.
Yeah, 1000%. So I got two more questions for you.
Yeah.
What would be your tips for newer breeders coming in?
Don't come in thinking you know everything. Don't come in thinking that because you saw it, it's easy. Because again, nothing worth having is ever going to come easy. And if you want to be at that level of top and elite within the community or within the breed, you're going to have to put in some work, because there's a lot of people that are, again, OGs that have been doing it for years, that they've done it and seen it, physically been a part of it. You can't come in and tell them different until, it's all trial and error. I'm a big believer in trial and error. And until you fail, you won't know how to move forward. So I would just say, come in open-minded, ask a lot of questions, don't follow hype, follow knowledge, apply common sense to knowledge, and don't try and just go with the fad. Don't try and just join up with who's hot. Physically go see these dogs in person, because videos and pictures can be deceiving. Look at past history, look at bloodlines, look at productions, put your hands and get to as many shows as you can to immerse yourself in it, because you got to be a student of the game in order to master the craft.
Absolutely.
So that would be my input for anyone new coming into it.
Gotcha. So this is a staple of this podcast, right? I want you to give your personal 5 favorite American Bullies ever, and yes, Blue can be included in it.
So I'll start with, like I said, with what I've seen from the beginning, and in no particular order, because I hate being the one to rank them. Because every dog brings something different to the table, and every dog has contributed something to the gene pool in the community. But just starting from where we started, the bus, bro. The bus is one of the ultimate showmen, in the sport. had a powerful backing with the bully market, had already, you know, the bully market already had a great following, but the bus was up there. Another dog that I've only seen perform a couple times that we competed against in 2019 was the Bear, bro. The Bear is
tough.
Bear is tough. Like Bear can come in and still look like what the breed needs to be, and he can still float around the ring. Grand Champion Bowser, not everyone's not everyone's cup of tea, but he was a pioneer in the early days of the breed. And that dog will float any day of the week around that ring, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, who else? I would say, what's that? That's three. That's three. I would say Hangman has solidified, you know, and proven himself against a lot of naysayers, people, you know, the whole classic argument and all that. Call him what you want to call him, but you got to call him a national winning American bully, because he fit the criteria and he brings everything he is and some to the table. Beautiful specimen. His movement, his angulation is to die for. I love that dog.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And I'm going to include three on my last one. I think Samson, Blue, and Zero are all dogs that they each bring something different to the table, but they each are prime examples of what a breeding program should look at to try and incorporate to progress the breed. I feel like I always want to be the best. I always want Blue to be the best, but I'm never going to take away anything from anyone else's work and anyone else's productions and what they've done. Samson has produced some beautiful dogs. I see a lot of beautiful Samson offspring, man, and they're young too. He's got a lot of young dogs that sadly a lot of people don't show, man, but if they did, I'll tell you what, you know, he would reignite that conversation for himself. You know, Zero is a beautiful show specimen. Hannah presented him beautifully. He brought a lot as far as, you know, making people believe, you know, that a big dog can carry all that and bring all that to the ring and win, you know? And he did just that. His mass, his movement, his structure. And I think Blue, just in general, being a big body, man, he carries it well. He rides on air suspension, I feel like, you know, and it's beautiful, bro. I love seeing it. Like I said, seeing someone else handle your dog, you don't really appreciate what you have until you see it from the sidelines, you know. And I think he brings a lot to the American bully that I feel is beneficial to the breed. I'm thankful and grateful for the people that have included him in their programs. And I look forward to the rest of the people that have breedings lined up to him that we can see more offspring off of him competing in the ring. Again, I wish more would get their dogs off the couch to showcase, but to each their own. You know, I know the financial investment, emotional investment that goes into all of it, but I feel like all those dogs bring a lot to the American bully, and that's what people should look at to try and incorporate and emulate.
Absolutely, man. So this just ran through my mind. So I gotta ask this: 2024 ABKC Nationals, will he make an appearance?
So we're not gonna be in the ring. I'll tell you that much right now. We're holding our ground. He will not be in the ring showing, but we may bring him out just to be in the crowd and let people see him. And I do want to get a picture with those 4 grand champion litter mates. That to me would be something that I would love to have on my wall. You know, Hangman, Juno, Cerberus, and Ragnar, all of them would be, you know, with their dad. That to me would be an amazing picture. You know, if we can get a couple grandkids in there too, that would be the icing on the, you know, on the cake. And we will not be in the ring competing, but we may pop out just to be in the crowd and get some pictures and stuff.
That's awesome, bro. Brother man, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to jump on this podcast and speak about Blue, man. I'm, like I said before, I'll just reiterate, I'm just so humble and grateful that you took the time to really chop it up with me and speak about Blue, man. You know, and as I always do on this podcast, I give all the glory to my man's up top, and I thank him for giving me the opportunity to be able to interview you, man. Man, keep up the great work, bro. Like I said, I'm just so grateful that you came on to chop it up about Blue with me, man. I really mean that. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's David Martinez, the owner of Martinez Bullz, the producer of international winner, national winner, Grand Champion Blue. Appreciate you, my man. Have a great day, bro. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for everything.